Hi Archers! With patch 1.4.6, 4 new items have been added into the game. ARCHERO has introduced the new spellbooks that grant our heroes ultimates, and it's quite a big deal. In this video, I'll be ranking all the spellbooks from worst to best, show you what they can do, show you their stats, and list their pros and cons. At the end of the video, I will show you a little trick on how you could charge your ultimate faster. My name is Teeds. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe and click the bell for more ARCHERO videos. Disclaimer, this is based on my experience, numbers, and research. Spellbooks are very dependent on your personal playstyle and preference more than most items in the game. There is no right answer here. I also do not have any of these books at Epic, so I was not able to test them at their best. It's very expensive for me to try and get them all to Epic. Epic spellbooks are a lot better than their lower rarity counterparts, so my ranking will be mostly based off their stats and my numbers. This will be based on their Epic stats, as Epic is the most obtainable for all players. If I do get them all at Epic, I will revisit this tier list and make a more in-depth comparison. All spellbooks grant increased max health. There is a stat that you may not be familiar with, and that's power speed. I believe power speed is the speed of the ultimate charge. First, to address the big question, can you start a step with active spellbooks? Active spellbooks are manual, so you have to double tap to use them. Stutter stepping is when you tap the screen to cancel the attack animation of your weapon, resulting in more damage and attack speed. There is good news and bad news. There are two methods of stutter stepping, tapping on the screen or slightly tapping in a direction, which results in your hero moving. Unfortunately, the tapping method means you will lose your ultimate every time it's up. However, as you can see in this clip, the slightly tap dodge movement is not affected by this. I believe it's because when the game registers movement, it will not activate the ultimate. And secondly, spellbook ultimates charge when you kill an enemy or take damage. Alright, let's begin. Coming in 4th place as the worst spellbook is the Ice Realm, active ultimate. Freezes surrounding enemies and increases own attack. Epic Ice Realm grants increased attack, increased frost damage, increased attack speed, increased power speed, increased frost area to 100% when ulting. Pros: freezes enemies when you're in tough situations. Can help against melee enemies when they're too close. Cons: cannot use the stutter step tapping method. Rarities before Epic require you to be close to the enemy. Can accidentally activate the ultimate. I place Ice Realm in 4th place because it's more of a situational dependent spellbook. The biggest con for me is that the lower rarities do not cover the map 100% like the Epic Ice Realm does. So any rarity below that will be very risky to use if you want to use it aggressively, so it's more dependent on the situation you're in. If you have a rarity lower than Epic, the smaller area can work nicely on close bosses like the Scythe Mage for example, but for bosses that are ranged and far away, I would never recommend going close to any of them to use the ultimate. This makes this ultimate and spellbook useless in more situations until Epic. The only situation it is useful in before Epic is monsters who get too close, melee monsters, and melee bosses. In 3rd place is the Arcane Archer, active ultimate. Increases projectile frequency and own attack. When ulting, you'll have increased attack speed, side arrow +1, and front arrow +1. This spellbook already has diagonal arrow and front arrow at common rarity when ultimate is activated. Pros: may benefit the staff more over other weapons due to the staff's homing function. Grants you a damage increase for a short duration. Works best against bosses and wave chapters. While it does benefit the staff in a way, it can also make the staff weaker due to front arrow, which will reduce the projectile damage of all arrows. It could be stronger on staff or weaker on staff, depending on what abilities you have on the staff. Just like the Ice Realm as an active ultimate, you could accidentally activate the ultimate. You also cannot use the tap stutter step method. Stutter stepping may give you more damage and attack speed overall than the Arcane Archer would give you for its duration. I place Arcane Archer above Ice Realm because Arcane Archer can be used in more situations than Ice Realm. While Ice Realm does have its benefit of helping you survive situations, Arcane Archer can help you quickly take chunks of health, especially if you do not have a lot of high tier abilities. I would also like to note that it does say increase projectile frequency, which originally led me to think that it increases your attack speed. However, that is not the case. It doesn't make any sense as there is a separate stat for attack speed. So I tested it and nothing changed. ARCHERO seems to have used the wrong wording here. I believe increased attack frequency is supposed to mean increased number of arrows shot, which is why we get diagonal arrows and front arrow at common rarity. In 2nd place is the Art of Combat. Automatic Ultimate. Increased projectile knockback effect when full. Increased attack, projectile knockback, power speed, and increased projectile speed when ulting. Pros: increases your knockback effect. Means you can increase the knockback on weapons with weak knockback such as Spear and Tornado. This provides crowd control. Fast ultimate recharge speed. Happens automatically. Can use both methods of status stepping without accidentally activating. Best used against mob levels and melee enemies. Cons: not great for all bosses as the knockback effect doesn't work on all bosses, but at least you get some of the other benefits. It was hard ranking between Art of Combat and Arcane Archer, but the biggest factor for me is that Art of Combat is an automatic ultimate. There is both a pro and a con to this, and a con that I'd like to talk more about, which is why I haven't listed it yet. The pro is that you can play as normal and start a step as normal. The con is that it activates every time it's full, so there is not much strategic use here. Sometimes it might even activate after you kill everything. I would say that it's very dependent on your personal choice here between Art of Combat and Arcane Archer if you're deciding between the two. One does work better with bosses, while the other works better with mobs. I strongly value crowd control, and because Spear is one of my favorite weapons, it's nice to be able to add some crowd control to that weapon. Both of these spellbooks are great for different situations. I personally just placed it second because I do not like the Activate Ultimate feature, and I think status stepping is something that all Archero players should do. In first place, as the best spellbook, is Enlightenment, Automatic Ultimate. Get a new skill when full. Increase power speed, increase multi-skill +1 when ulting. When you're not ulting, I believe you always have collision damage resistance +5% and projectile resistance +5%. For those who do not know what multi-skill means, multi-skill grants you another ability choice when the ult activates. This spellbook grants you a new ability from the ability pool with so far no cap. I average around 3 to 4 extra abilities per 50 level chapter, but I do it strategically, and I'll show you how after I talk about this book. The pros: it grants an average 2 to 4 abilities per wave and normal chapters. Usually you'll finish a chapter with 10 abilities, excluding abilities from devils and angels, which means you could finish a chapter with a total of 12 to 14 abilities. It is an automatic ultimate. You can start a step as usual. Damage resistance seems to be active all the time regardless of your ult activating. Skills stay permanently and for the duration of your run. Even at common rarity, this spellbook is already strong. Extremely strong for Sylvan players as the ability pool is already smaller. Cons: sometimes you might get a bad ability that is not worth it. This is hard to stack in boss only chapters, and you may only get around 1 to 2 abilities. But still, I would use this over the other books because an extra ability can make a huge difference. It is the longest ability to charge. Enlightenment is the strongest spellbook by a lot. There is a huge power difference between Enlightenment and the other 3 spellbooks. To have almost 4 extra abilities at most for chapter runs will make a huge difference in your runs. You do not have to take every ability it gives you. You can just press the back button in the game and it will pass on the ability. I would farm for this spellbook. It just takes one common item of this spellbook to reap its benefits. You can still get 2 to 4 abilities, which is insane. Upgrading the rarity will increase the ability pool, so at Epic you can choose between 2 abilities each time. This means that there will be a higher chance of picking up high tier abilities. Now, a way to charge up your ultimate faster. A way to do it is to take damage from the lowest source. So things like saw blades or the spikes on the ground, or even collision damage from certain enemies, whichever is the lowest source. For chapter 6, I was able to pick up 3 abilities. However, if I did not use this method of taking damage to charge my ult, I would have probably only had 2 abilities. It's a risky method, so I would recommend doing it in the earlier stages and making sure you're not doing it before a tough stage or boss depending on your health. This method strongly benefits the Enlightenment book, and I recommend grabbing the ability Bloodthirst when you can to gain health back so you can take more damage to gain more abilities. If your health is full, it's best to take damage right before a chest with heals, so usually before boss levels, and just let yourself take some damage and then let yourself heal from the chest. This is a great way to make use of the heals from the chest when you're already full health. That is all for today's video. I thank you very much for watching. As soon as I find all the epics, I will revisit this tier list and make a better comparison, much more in depth than this one. If you'd like to see the ancient legendary stats of the spellbook, I will link the video below. Like the video if you like the new spellbooks, let me know in the comments which spellbook you like the best. Subscribe and click the bell for more Archero videos. I hope to see you again for the next one. Bye!